Welcome back to the Orca Boat Shop. My name's Rod and we're back here working on Scout, and in this episode I'm going to show how I installed, for the most part, all of the internal structure, the bulkheads and some of the filleting. So let's get to it. So that's all the zip ties. Now you'll notice I still have zip ties on the second and third plank. So the main deck will sit on top of that ledge. Sit down and get glued on and put a fillet on the top of that. So we're not running fillets on there. Next we're going to sand all of this surface area here, clean up any bit of rough spots, and we then put in a larger fillet, or at least to fill in the areas where the zip ties were. Well, it's the next day. I have filled as many holes as I can, redid the filleting. I've now sanded and cleaned, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my own little strips of 4-ounce glass. I cannot seem to find 4-ounce glass in a, say, a 1 or 2 inch wide strip, commercially made. I do have 6-ounce. I think that's going to be a little heavy, i.e. just, cleaning up the thick epoxy and the rough edges that results from that. So I'm going to use 4-ounce, cut my own tape from a piece, and the remaining piece will kind of go on the bottom on the outside. Prepped it all, sanded it all. I'm going to wipe it down now and cut my glass. So it would be super nice if I had a long, clean table to cut this, but I do not. So I'm just going to use the boat itself. Now we will end up with some ragged edges. I need 4 pieces, about 1 inch or so wide, maybe a little more. And if I just rip them off of this piece here. So if anybody knows of a good source within North America to get 4-ounce, 2 inch wide tape, because I use a lot of fiberglass tape, 6-ounce for seams in kayaks. And I like to use 6 on the inside because it doesn't have all the frayed edges. It's a commercially made tape. But on the outside, where people will see any overlap of glass and not be as clear as possible, I cut myself 4-ounce tape just like I'm doing right here now. And if anybody's built stitch and glue before, there's people out there watching, or people that might be considering it. I'm not a big fan of massive fillets when you're going to be taping the seam anyways, because the tape is really, or the fiberglass is really what's going to strengthen the joint. The fillet really is only there to make a smooth transition in the joint so the glass can lay flat across, in my opinion. Now if I wasn't putting any glass over the tape or over the seam, then certainly we want a nice big fillet in there to strengthen the joint. So when I look at the manual and the pictures that they show, they've really laid in some pretty heavy fillets, and I don't know, I just don't see the point in that. So this is a piece of 4-ounce by 50 inches wide, and after I cut off maybe 6 inches, I'll still have a piece big enough to cover half of the hull on the outside. So then following that, on one side will be this piece, on the other side we'll just go to a 30 inch wide piece of 4-ounce glass. This piece of glass is 10 feet long. They don't all need to be 10 feet long, but I wanted to make sure that the piece left over was going to be big enough to cover the hull. So it's probably 10.5 feet long. And I will add that, bending over into this boat right now and all of the sanding I've done, I'll be lucky if I can roll off the couch tomorrow or this evening. Okay, that's that. Now I'm just going to gently fold up this piece of glass. Prefer to be rolling it, but I don't want to be sort of folding it too tightly and leaving big kinks in it. Although the majority of the bottom of the boat will be painted on the outside, but still, you know, you get these creases in your glass and you leave it on a roll with a crease or something and it just doesn't come out. It just keeps lifting up. Alright, that will have to do. Time to mix up some resin. And we're just going to brush and stick all of this glass there. Okay, I'm just going to brush on some resin across the joint. I'm going to start at the bottom. And then I'll just begin to stick down the glass and work my way to the other end. Been about 24 hours now with 2 coats of resin onto the strips of glass that I put into the seams, and now I'm going to hit them with the sander, clean it all up, and then roll on a sort of a final coat, and I will add the filleting to the top seam because apparently I was supposed to do that. I don't know how I missed that in the manual, but anyhow, but that's not really going to take up too much time. Alright, noise and dust. So I'm not really sure how much of a fillet, so to speak, should go in here, because I'm not really sure how the doubler and deck are going to sit in here, whether they are sitting on this ledge, and if I put a massive fillet in here, is that going to mean that I'm either going to have to grind it out or change sort of the position or how the deck lays in there. I mean, we do see that the doubler comes up to here because there's a mark on the planking. But I figure if I'm just tidy now, that might mean less mess to clean up or grinding of crappy looking fillets tomorrow. And at this point, I'm really just kind of stitching it together, so to speak, with epoxy to hold it in place so that I can, in fact, take the zip ties out tomorrow and complete sort of a nice, cleaner fillet in here. But it's really hard to make nice, clean fillets with a fillet stick if you don't have a smooth surface to work with. So if there's a bunch of lumps of epoxy in here, you're never going to get a smooth fillet look, as the fillet stick, or sorry, the fillet stick will just kind of ride over all the bumps. So that means if you want it smooth, you're going to have to grind out all the lumps and bumps. However, whatever method works for you. And of course, if you can't really see on the camera being a bit far away, I'm just putting fillets between the zip ties as close as I can. I put the small bulkhead in, which is basically labeled number 4, and zip tied it in. I did need to put a little bit of a spreader in there to get the tabs to go in on this one down here. What I didn't do, as much as I sanded the pieces going in, I didn't sand the edge here where we're going to fill it, because we need to be able to bond epoxy to the rough surface. But you know, that's a small area you have to do, and I only have to do it sort of between the zip ties. But what I am going to do is get out a piece of sandpaper and determine, you know, where this is going to sit next to all the tabs, and how, so basically just sanding down this area between those two notches. Okay, we're making sure that's good side out. Go on to did before. I suspect the hull's all a bit stiffer now with the glass in there. Don't think it's changed that much shape, but not as flexible as it once was. So the question is, of course, did I mistake in fiberglassing those seams? I don't think so, but I think that when I put the epoxy in there and that, I probably would have been advisable to make sure that the beam on this and the angles were all correct for these pieces to fit in. They're all going to fit in there, that's not going to be an issue, but I don't want to be breaking anything, and I really just don't have enough hands to sort of tackle the task. But this just definitely needs to go down to that hole there. I don't recall if I actually cleaned up these tabs here, so I'm going to just tighten them up a bit. Okay, I need another spreader of some sort here. Now what's going to happen when I take this one off? And hold that all nicely together there. We can tighten up some there. I'm not sure I'm going to have a spreader long enough to span across here, but I can always just get a piece of wood in the right length and jam it in. So where are we there? We're right there. And that length is currently 33. And I think we need to come out to 34-ish. So I'm going to go get a piece of lumber about 34. So if I go to there and I want to maybe get it to come out to there. That will go in once I release the batten holding it around here. Okay, we're in. We are in. It's a bit bowed, but there will be a piece holding it vertical that way. That piece is pretty straightforward, so I can zip tie this one in. And when I glassed over the seams, we've just kind of got a bit of a glass and that into the notches here. Just kind of roll it a little bit. I zip tied in all the bulkhead panels, cross panels, forward deck, and well, there's actually 1, 2, 3, and these half bulkhead panels here. Stitched them all in and did a little tiny fillet in to kind of glue everything in place. Wires are cut or zip ties are cut, and now I'm going to put in a larger fillet. Now for the daggerboard trunk, I've actually had to make a second piece here. They really only provided one that I could find in the kit. No biggie. We have extra pieces, but I'm assuming that we're not going to have water pouring in the boat here through the trunk, that this needs to be beveled off to match closely to the planking. So we get ourselves a little block of wood of some sort. Where did I see one? That's about right. I mean, we just need a general angle here. It's got the lettering there. I don't know whether that should be on the inside or not. No one is really going to see in here anyways. So that seems to fit better in the forward section. So we'll slide this one to here. And mark this one. Side, side. We have an end. And an end. Now we have a spacer here, and I'm not really quite sure. There's also a daggerboard spacer here, and I'm thinking that these two pieces together will make up folding them apart, because that seems to fit in there quite nicely. And that's going to give us, because the center board I'm assuming is that thickness, so that's going to give a little bit of extra room inside. Oops, put this piece in backwards. How'd I do that? Oops. This one goes on this end. I just know that because I haven't epoxy coated the outside of this one yet, so that should drop in there. And I'm assuming that the inside face of the box here is flush with the vertical wall. So how does one keep all that steady? I could put some weight down in there, I suppose. And I need a little bit of weight on top of here because I came up about 3 zip ties short. So if I was to put some weight down in there, flush up against the bulkhead wall, I think just a tiny dab of CA glue on these joints here will help. down in there a bit. Let it spray and very quickly hold it together. Now down in the bottom here, we're not sitting flush on the bottom because of the fillet. So now I can actually pull the center board out. Okay, so I have roughly sanded the bottoms a bit corner and clean. That should go in like so. And sit there. And like I say, they sort of suggesting that it be fiberglassed. If I was to wrap, well, at least if we just kind of go through there, all the way around with glass, I wouldn't go any higher. I don't know, do I have enough room with glass to slide that back into there? Or do I try and glass it in place? Seems like an awkward location to be reaching down and trying to wrap glass around it. Now the box is going to take some stress, right, with the center board down there. Heaven forbid hitting a rock or a beach, but we certainly don't want to break the box. So I think I'm going to wrap some glass around there before. I can always sand it down afterwards to make sure that it just slides in there, or even just clean up these edges a bit. And then once it's glassed, then all I need to do is fillet it in around the bottom and up the corners. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Alright, I think at this point I'm just going to go around and tighten up zip ties because I got to run some fillets, but I've been bending over in this boat pretty much all day and I'm not really in the mood right now. Now the other thing is that this deck support piece I'm going to leave off for now because I think it's easier to get inside and do filleting in some of these sections here without having to reach in and around. I can get down and in. So I think that's going to be it for today, other than tightening everything up here. And tomorrow we'll start putting those fillets in. I think that's as far as we'll take it in this episode, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up, and or even consider becoming a subscriber. See you next episode.